Now, I want to start a small conversation what happened on Twitter that basically someone found the lost pilot of Star versus the original pilot from Nickelodeon. If you're watching that simple pilot, that pilot was a little different from the original show because it's sort of obvious. It's a pilot, it only lasted 2 minutes long. But I have to say, you see sort of the nuggets of charmness of it, even that it's sort of not perfect, even that it's sort of the 10-year anniversary of Star versus. It's just sort of interesting that someone finally upload the lost pilot, because the reason why this was sort of uploaded is because it's from the Giga Leak. If you don't know, there are two Giga Leaks. I'm talking about the last Giga Leak was sort of kind of mined from the old studios, and this is sort of one of the videos they found and uploaded on YouTube. But there is something more interesting conversation coming, because I think it was Toon Hive released a small post on Twitter saying every single show that Nickelodeon basically passed on, like they didn't care about it, they didn't feel was sort of SpongeBob worthy. And the list is sort of kind of shocking, because there were a lot of good shows that just did not care, and even that have super much potential, they still didn't care, in other words, because the first one is automatically Adventure Time. That's the one show I think everybody knows that was a Nickelodeon show first. Even that was perfectly built, even the pilot was perfectly built to be basically Nickelodeon. If you watch the new from the version of Cartoon Network, that still feels a little bit like Nickelodeon. Even that little by little was sort of evolving to becoming more mature, more deep, more lore heavy. Even that decide to continue on, they can easily ruin it in Nickelodeon. Sort of obvious. Of course, I'm get more better explanation would go on, because there's other shows like Phineas and Ferb. I did not realize Phineas and Ferb was sort of Nickelodeon property. I thought all this time, I thought it was sort of a Disney sort of property. I thought that come up with the idea because how the creators usually work on Disney, so that's sort of strange. You also have Proud Family, Star Versus, that's super obvious, and Eddie and Eddie. On top of this, the fan down below did comic. They actually forgot one more, that Ghost and Money McGee. There were so many shows they just basically throw away. They just did not care, and all of them become their own respected network, the biggest hits on their own network. It's sort of shocking why they keep doing this again and again, not giving a chance to know them. Of course, to be fair, they could be obvious change, or the pilot doesn't feel right with the network, because it also depends what type of network or what allows, not allows. Like Proud Family, I don't think it will work that much in Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. I'm not sure it's gonna hit right or not. Usually it have to do some changes depending on the network, how they runs. In fact, I think this is the reason why that Nickelodeon is just keep failing, not because the list roster, all the missed potential they just throw in the trash. It's the fact they have a sort of, not a quota, almost like a phrase in that network. They have this sort of a list, this sort of rules, not words, I'm trying to say, that they say they must protect or make sure the entertainment is for kids. They have sort of a regulation, in other words. And this sort of regulation or creed they have is sort of the reason why they kind of screwing up. Because let's face it, all of them could be still bangers with their own respected network in Nickelodeon, but yet they chose not to. Of course, to be fair, some of the pilots like the Adventure Time and Star Versus, you can easily find it right now. For example, Star Versus barely come out right now a couple of days ago, and everybody's sort of shocked how different it is, but yet you could see, yeah, he has potential to be more because it's sort of obvious, but at the same time, I feel it was tweaked to a level to be Nickelodeon appropriation. In other words, just to remind you, they have other good ideas besides this. I usually mention Spy Cooper, the video game. They made a pilot for basically Nickelodeon, and the people who watched it who are the ones who greenlight, yes, this continue on to the next stage. We do me another episode, extending it outwards, just to see what it feels in better Nickelodeon sort of standards outwards. And they say they passed it on. They just didn't care for it. It's because it's not Nickelodeon standards. But the weird part is their own word says, they actually really liked it, but it just doesn't fit the standards. Like, it was a good pilot, it just they didn't care for it. Of course, I'm kind of strange they never attempted to talk to other networks. Maybe they did, maybe they passed it on, or they just sort of gave up because if nobody wants it, what's the whole point? I honestly don't know what happened in the background, but just give you the idea how basically dense they are of the rules they set up, because usually that what works for them, but at the same time, I feel what Disney way of telling stories on films works super well on basically Disney shows, that you must innovate, you must evolve now words. And that is sort of true, because Adventure Time did evolve, Star Versus did evolve, Phineas and Ferb evolved also, even that it just sort of kind of pace the sort of same scenarios, but just sort of the subtleties, the changes. Even that Eddie the same, it did evolve. I thought even what else? Prophet, that's one of the biggest changes. Even that people don't like the continuation that much, but still enjoy what it was, and that's just sort of interesting. But of course, don't forget, if they do adapt it to Nickelodeon, someone actually posted that specific answer saying if they did adapt it, they probably cancel after 1 to 2 seasons, because let's face it, it's Nickelodeon. If you don't have basically SpongeBob numbers, you cancel it. And this is true. There is another show that Nickelodeon did feel exactly what they wanted, and they did not get the numbers they actually wanted. That was sort of It's a Pony, if I remember the show, that I really did like. It was really charming. But after 2 seasons, I think it was just 2 seasons. I think they have 3, but no, I think it was 2. They just cancel it. In other words, it's just sort of kind of odd choices they keep making again and again. Of course, I have to stop here for right now because I have to do the intro. My name is Retro. I like to talk about animation, not just animation, to reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories, and sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, you like how it's going, you like to help my channel, put a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the only thing to do, because I'm trying to get to my main goal of 2,000 subscribers, because I'm getting close because the people put like, comment, and share. And thank you people who do, because that really does help super much on my channel. But other than that, let's start with a sort of continuation of the conversation of why Nickelodeon keeps screwing itself and keep denying money, in other words. Now let's get started. Of course, to be fair, if you watch the Star versus pilot of Nickelodeon, also Adventure Time, they can easily change or become something else completely, because they're pilots. They're not sure what we wanted. Like, we have the idea, but it doesn't look like the same idea you finish seeing the finished product, because when you watch a pilot, sometimes they had to do major changes, depends on the network now works. Sometimes there are rare times they just, yeah, this is a show, like just continue on where you left off, because there have been shows like that, like for example Clarence. If you watch the original Clarence pilot and watch the original series, it's the same thing. They did not change nothing, because the first time they actually did it on the pilot, they nailed it. Even that, I'm 100% sure they have other ideas before it became this kind of version, but you get the idea how this sort of process sort of works, because pilots is not the indicator what you're gonna get next. It also the same time also depends on the network, because let's face it, I keep telling you, Nickelodeon sort of mentality, just keep it safe, keep it what the brand of Nickelodeon, not just also Nickelodeon. Disney have this equally the same problem as basically Nickelodeon, but the only difference is I feel Disney is more free on their own anime series. It's not basically connected to the major franchise like Star Wars or Pixar or any other IP they know. It's like sort of a brand new series. They usually have this sort of chillax approach, like, yeah, do what you think you do, just don't break the rules. But the only problem is Disney has basically more stricter rules than Nickelodeon because they have very weird rules like have things that you wouldn't expect. If you don't know, trying to find the basically tweets of the creator of Gravity Falls, that he was sort of bitter and angry after everything he finished of his own show, tweeting about how angry the process really is because you get angry because all the choices he makes for the show, even that were PG, Disney did not like it. You have to change this again. Even that, it's sort of the joke is super harmless, doesn't have an insult. It's more like lore heavy now. Whereas I think one of the big examples is Stan's sort of hat that they want to change it could be sort of racist or something they misunderstood visually with different countries. Even that the creator did check like there's nothing like this all the different countries. This thing is just sort of completely safe. It's just sort of more lore. If you see the hat, it's sort of kind of like a cult inside in Gravity Falls sort of membership kind of deal, but it's sort of something you have to look for, something you have to read his sort of stories he tells on Twitter to really understand what that little fish thing says downwards. But once again, it sort of give you an idea how difficult it is to work with Nickelodeon, Disney, or Cartoon Network. But be fair, Cartoon Network is more chillax nowadays. It's like a chill network, but it still have their own rules and regulations what you need to do. But even that said, even they decided Nickelodeon to keep all the pilots to make him exactly how they want it and actually give him the series, doesn't mean it will be successful because it's Nickelodeon. That's just like another problem with them. When I mean just Nickelodeon, they have a habit of screwing over the creators again and again. Not all of them, but you could usually find a handful of creators like, yeah, they extended my show while telling me. I mean, extended, I mean, they agreed 2 seasons and season 2 will drop 8 years later. For no apparent reason. They don't tell you. They just do this. I guess they think it wasn't successful. We don't want to pay the other creator. We just screw him a little bit longer just to basically text write-off nowadays. And this is sort of the problem sometimes, that you can't really trust the network, especially Nickelodeon, because you don't know what would do because they don't tell you anything. Because there's another one that I heard that it's like a kind of like a not family, sort of a kind of between educational, like a normal show for Nickelodeon. They just sell it to Amazon and never tell the original creator. This actually did happen. Like little things like that, it just sort of kind of pisses you off. Like this is the reason why they are kind of failing, because Nickelodeon itself is not really Nickelodeon. It feels like extended version of Nick Jr. nowadays. It really does, because they made it dumber and dumber for a young audience because TV is sort of dying. The only people who watch television is probably 3 to 5 year olds. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just wondering, why do you have Nickelodeon? You have Nick Jr. You just extended and killed the other rest. It's sort of obvious if you want that specific audience, but yet they don't. And that's just sort of weird for me. Like, you have potential to be great. You have potential to be better. And they chose not to. Maybe because they stopped being creative, just becoming more basically business now words, more kind of plain words. And I think that's sort of the problem with Nickelodeon, that obvious. I kind of glad they got all the pilots didn't get stuck to Nickelodeon. If they did, they probably would not blow up. Probably would change so much different if they did. But all of that, I can't really say much. In fact, how you felt about this? Are you were interested or not? Hopefully I didn't bore you. Hopefully you were fascinated in some of my opinions of this sort of kind of process, because let's face it, this is sort of like a punching back from Nickelodeon, because I do not like Nickelodeon. They usually do this kind of dumb things. They never really want to improve or evolve for obvious reasons, because they have to have money in the table. They can fail every single time. But I feel because of this, kind of screwing themselves even more while trying anything new, because you're getting the same results. Instead of just becoming the SpongeBob and Lighthouse kind of house. That's the only two shows allowed to be there, at least in animation. But that's all I need to say. I don't know you how you felt about that. Do you like this sort of way? You want me to talk about more sort of news, but just talk about one specific thing? Just let myself talk downwards. Tell me down below. Let me know. I got nothing else to say. Just thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day. Bye.